Good day everyone, I am Christine, the moderator for this webinar. I welcome everyone to today's webinar, The 5 C's of Credit. I would like to introduce our presenter for today, Dave Strishak. Dave is the principal of the Bondrix Advisory Group and engages in consulting, speaking and training on a wide range of risk, credit and lending topics. He earned his MBA from the University of Hawaii. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Christine, and welcome to 5 C's of Credit. And if you're wondering, well, what are the 5 C's? The answer is right in front of you. Character, capital, capacity, collateral, and conditions. And we're going to talk about each one of these and how they work together to make it possible for you to evaluate a customer, a borrower's creditworthiness, and assess their ability to repay. For easy definitions, let's start with the idea that capacity is really talking about the ability of the borrower to operate and, more importantly, repay the loan. Capital is where we take into account the amount of money that the borrower has put into the business. Likewise, we have collateral. If we don't have cash flow, we always take collateral. And the idea is that if the borrower defaults, is unable to repay, we can gain possession of the collateral, pay it, liquidate it, and with the proceeds, pay back the loan. Conditions is where we take into account the economy. And then finally, character. Character asks the question, is the borrower willing to repay? Not able to repay, but willing to repay. The 5 C's have been around for many, many years. So let's start first with capacity. Debt to income. Is there enough income to cover all of the debt? Every company has a profit goal. Its financial condition has the shape of this vertical rectangle, demonstrating that the trade-off for that desired return on equity, the liquidity will be restored as cash comes in. It's going to be less liquid, more leveraged, and less solvent. We use a concept of global cash flow as one way to calculate a company's ability to repay its debt, both its proposed debt and its existing debt. So we use global cash flow, more global debt service, and a company's your borrower's ability to repay. Let's go on to conditions, and in particular we want to look at the business cycle. Are we in recession or are we in an expansion? Business cycles come and go. Generally there are 4 parts to a business cycle. The so-called early expansion, which is a euphemism for recovery. The late expansion, when the cycle really takes off and we go into a boom, and then that contraction period, that's the slowdown, and then recession. As we turn to the industry, we want to know, we want to check on where the firm is successful and where it can be. The degree of competition, the circle in the middle, is a function of the threat of new entrants. There are differences among the sectors in industries. In terms of the industry life cycle, this particular chart, those most vulnerable to recession are on the left. Also, there's technology. And I've listed a number of items that have come and gone and related to cell phones and smartphones. Value chain gives us a chance to take a look at how a company is put together and how certain factors can influence that. Management, systems, HR, technology, procurement. These are all support activities. I've talked about the primary activities. So if I look at some industry drivers, and this means we can quantify that value chain analysis. We can get a sense of just how these work together. So let's move on to collateral. When we take collateral, of course, we're hoping that there'll be enough value in that collateral to pay off our loan if the borrower's cash flow doesn't do it. And so when we analyze collateral, we take into account liquidity. So if I take Reaper Corporation, let's move on to capital. And capital has the value of being kind of a residual measure of a company's success. We also think of it in terms of the amount of funding that comes from the owners and the amount of funding that comes from debt. There are industries that have lots of junk bond. That's another consequence of that is that fraud. Character is all about honesty and integrity. I've got some questions of character and projection budget performance. There are lots of red flags out there. And so the reason for fraud, frankly, is that Association of Certified Fraud Examiners. Let me close out with this. Let me point out some sources and references that I use to assemble this particular slide, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Dave. That concludes the session for today. Thank you everyone for participating. You may all disconnect now and have a great day.